I was 28 when my doorbell chimed at 2 a.m. in March. My husband, David, had departed for a year-long work project in Europe just 2 weeks prior, leaving me alone when my sister, Lisa, appeared with her 3 kids, Ethan, Sophie, and Lily, clinging to her. Each child carried a single black garbage bag stuffed with clothes. Lisa handed me a crumpled envelope. She said the kids were my responsibility now, that she needed a break. Without another word, she turned and walked to a car waiting in the dark. The children stood silently, watching their mother drive away. Inside the envelope were guardianship papers she'd printed off some website, unsigned and legally worthless. I was too stunned to think clearly that night. I called the police right away. They took a statement but explained that since the kids were safe with a family member, this wasn't considered legal abandonment. They suggested contacting Child Protective Services the next morning, which I did. CPS opened a case immediately. A caseworker named Brian visited my 1-bedroom apartment that afternoon to assess the situation. He explained I could apply for emergency kinship care status while they searched for Lisa, granting me temporary legal authority and some financial support. That first night, all 3 kids slept in my bed while I took the couch. Ethan stayed awake, staring at the door until dawn. Sophie wept quietly. Lily wet the bed. The CPS caseworker helped me enroll the kids in the local school on an emergency basis, though they needed birth certificates and proper documents within 30 days. David video called that evening, clearly shaken by the news. He offered to return, but his contract had steep penalties for early termination. We agreed he should stay. The school counselor soon reported to CPS that Lily had been arriving unwashed for weeks before prerogative to my home. Ethan hadn't completed homework in months. Sophie had been taking food from classmates' lunches. By the 3rd month, despite the small kinship care stipend, my savings were gone. I took a second job working nights while the kids slept. Brian arranged licensed childcare when needed. I was surviving on 4 hours of sleep. I tracked down Lisa's ex-boyfriend, Mark, who said she'd run off to Vegas with a 19-year-old she met at a bar, claiming the kids were holding her back. David's calls grew less frequent. His project faced delays, extending his stay in Europe by 6 months. After 6 months of no contact from Lisa, I filed for permanent custody with help from a pro bono lawyer. The first court hearing was in September. Lisa didn't appear. The judge delayed the case, requiring more efforts to find her. The guardian ad litem recommended I retain temporary custody during the search. After 2 more missed hearings, the judge granted me full custody in December, 9 months after Lisa's disappearance. In June, 15 months after she left, Ethan called me Mom for the first time. Sophie and Lily followed. By 18 months, Lily couldn't recall Lisa's face. When I showed her a picture, she said, "That's not my mommy, you're my mommy." David and I were drifting apart, talking only once a month. His calls included odd questions about whether I'd heard from Lisa 2 years and 2 months after she left. Lisa showed up at the kids' school, intoxicated and yelling that I'd stolen her children. The school followed protocol, calling me and the police. She was arrested for public intoxication. I got a restraining order the next day. That night, she tried breaking into our apartment at 3 a.m. The kids woke up terrified. Ethan stood protectively in front of his sisters with a baseball bat. I called 911. Lisa was arrested again but released the next morning. I tried contacting David for support, but he didn't answer for days. When he finally called, he sounded distant, saying he couldn't talk long. Lisa filed to reverse my custody, claiming she'd changed and deserved her kids back. The court ordered a supervised visitation assessment. When the kids saw her, they had panic attacks, and the visit was cut short 3 weeks ago. Lisa falsely reported to CPS that I was neglecting the kids. Brian and a new caseworker investigated, interviewing the children and reviewing records. The claim was dismissed as baseless, but the kids were terrified of being taken away. Then Lisa confronted me in the parking lot after work, sober but pregnant-looking. She demanded her kids back, saying her boyfriend had left her. I told her the kids were stable now, legally adopted by me, and she couldn't just reappear after 2 years. When I asked about the father, she smirked and said, "Your husband." I was floored. Lisa showed me texts between her and David, dating back over a year, suggesting they'd been in contact while I cared for her traumatized children. I accused her of lying, but my hands shook as I fumbled with my keys. She claimed David sent her money and met her during unreported trips to the States. She banged on my car window, screaming that I'd stolen her kids and her man as I drove away at home, I held it together until the neighbor watching the kids left. In the bathroom, I cried under the shower's noise. How could David do this? We'd been together 6 years before this chaos. I called him at 3 a.m., demanding answers. He admitted to a one-time encounter with Lisa before leaving for Europe, sparked by her request for money. It wasn't meant to continue, but they kept in touch. He extended his stay in Europe to avoid facing me. When he asked about the kids, I hung up. Furious the next morning, Ethan found me at the kitchen table, still in yesterday's clothes. He asked if Lisa was trying to take them away again. I promised him they were safe with me, legally and forever. I called my lawyer, explaining Lisa's claims about David. She said it strengthened my case, proving Lisa's instability, and advised filing for divorce. That afternoon, Lisa caused a scene at our apartment complex, accusing me of stealing David. Security escorted her out, and the incident was recorded, bolstering my case. I sent David an ultimatum: sign divorce papers, relinquish any claim to the kids, and provide a statement confirming his relationship with Lisa and her abandonment. If he refused, I'd expose him to his employer. That night, Mark, Lisa's ex, called, warning that Lisa planned to reclaim the kids for government benefits, not love. He offered to testify. On Friday, I filed for divorce and updated the school's emergency contacts, barring Lisa from picking up the kids. The principal revealed Lisa had called twice, demanding their schedules. They refused, but were on high alert. Brian from CPS visited that evening with his supervisor, Karen. They interviewed the kids and dismissed Lisa's latest false report. Karen confided that CPS was building a harassment case against Lisa. One more false report could lead to charges. That night, Sophie had a nightmare, asking if the scary lady would take her away. I held her, promising protection. The next morning, David sent 37 texts, retracting his agreement to my demands. Lisa was threatening to expose him to his employer unless he helped her get the kids back. I forwarded the texts to my lawyer. That afternoon, I met a financial advisor to secure my finances. Opening new accounts in my Name package arrived for the kids. 3 tablets with a note from Lisa. For my babies, Mommy loves you, I'll see you soon. It violated the restraining order. My lawyer advised documenting it but not giving the tablets to the kids. On Monday, the court scheduled an emergency hearing for Wednesday due to Lisa's escalating behavior. Tuesday night, David called, sounding panicked. Lisa had caused a scene at his company's European office, claiming he'd abandoned her while pregnant. He admitted she wasn't pregnant, just manipulating us. He also confessed there was no affair, only blackmail. Lisa had photos from a company party making David look compromised with a coworker, threatening to ruin his career unless he paid her. I demanded proof. David sent screenshots of threats, bank transfers, and the misleading photos. Just him, drunk with his arm around a colleague. Lisa had fabricated an affair narrative. I was relieved but furious he'd hidden this for 2 years while I struggled alone. My lawyer said this evidence could terminate Lisa's parental rights and potentially lead to extortion charges. At the hearing, we presented Lisa's harassment, school incidents, break-in attempts, false reports, and social media posts. The judge extended the restraining order and ordered a psychiatric evaluation for Lisa before further custody proceedings. In the parking lot, Lisa lunged at me, screaming that David promised to be with her. She was restrained by a bailiff that night. David sent all the evidence. The photos and texts confirmed Lisa's blackmail. I showed my lawyer, who was stunned but confident it would end Lisa's claims. Ethan overheard me talking to her and asked if Lisa wanted them back for money. I explained that some adults make bad choices, but I was their mom now. Forever the next morning, I learned Lisa was arrested for using a stolen credit card at a hotel near our apartment. David was flying back, having confessed everything to his employer, who put him on leave. I didn't know how to feel about seeing him after 2 years of lies. I was torn, angry at his deception, but relieved he hadn't betrayed me as I thought. One thing was certain: Ethan, Sophie, and Lily were mine. I'd fought for them through nightmares, therapy, and chaos. No one, not Lisa, not David, would take them away. Tomorrow, David would face me and the kids, and I had no idea what would happen next update. I read all your comments and appreciate the support. Ethan gets a high five from you all. I cleaned the apartment all night, fueled by rage, not for David, but to keep busy. By 5 a.m., the place was spotless, and I still hadn't decided whether to hear David out or serve him divorce papers at the door. Ethan found me scrubbing the fridge at dawn and helped without a word. He asked if David was coming home. and I told him we had things to sort out but promised we'd be okay as a family. David's flight landed at 2:30 p.m. I didn't respond to his text. Brian from CPS called, saying Lisa was in jail, but Aunt Ellen, Lisa's mother, wanted to help with the kids. Brian warned she could cause legal trouble despite her absence all these years. When David arrived, he looked awful. I let him knock 3 times before opening the door. He cried, something I'd never seen in 6 years. We talked on the steps outside. His suitcase between us. David showed me Lisa's blackmail messages. It started with small payments to help her, but when he tried to stop, she threatened to send misleading party photos to his boss. He paid to keep her away from the kids, fearing she'd take them to hurt me. He hid it from me out of shame, afraid I'd judge him. I was furious. He could have told me 2 years ago and we could have fought her together. I let him inside. He noticed the kids' bunk beds, homework charts, and photos without him. He picked up a picture from their art show, his face crumpling. I said he could sleep on the couch and we'd show a united front for the kids. When they got home, their reactions were mixed. Lily, barely remembering him, hid behind me. Sophie waved awkwardly. Ethan stared with anger and hoped dinner was tense. David tried too hard asking about school, but the kids were distant. Ethan watched us, sensing the strain. After they went to bed, David and I discussed Lisa, our marriage, and the future. I wasn't sure I could forgive his lies, despite understanding why he did it. He offered counseling and a job transfer to the States to rebuild. Trust day text from Aunt Ellen interrupted us, demanding to see the kids. David said she'd never contacted them in 2 years. Suspicious timing. The next morning, while David took the kids to school, I called Ellen. She accused me of stealing Lisa's kids, refusing to believe the truth about Lisa's abandonment and crimes. I hung up, shaking with anger. David returned, saying Ethan barely spoke to him and left the car without a goodbye that afternoon. David took the kids to therapy. Dr. Ellis met with him to assess his return's impact. At home, David and Sophie made pasta sauce together, a small breakthrough. Lily showed him her drawings, but Ethan stayed in his room, angry. At the park on Saturday, Ethan's friend's mom gave David a cold stare, later texting me about his absence. Rumors were spreading. Lisa called, claiming she wanted to apologize and enter rehab, offering to sign away her rights if I brought the kids to see her. I didn't trust her and told her I'd consult my lawyer. David called it a manipulation tactic. That night, Ethan asked if they'd have to see Lisa again. I held him, promising they'd stay with me forever. On Friday, Lisa was released on bail, staying with Ellen. I felt sick. David sat with me on the bathroom floor, promising to protect us. My lawyer said Lisa's chances of regaining custody were slim, but she and Ellen could still harass us. We considered moving to a new school district for safety. David offered his retirement savings for a house down payment, a practical gesture that surprised me. At Ethan's soccer game, I spotted Ellen watching from afar. David confronted her, and she fled after he threatened a restraining order. That night, I told David I understood the blackmail, but not his 2-year absence. He broke down, admitting the lie grew too big to confess. He swore he'd been faithful otherwise and still loved me. I wasn't sure I could trust him, but we needed each other to face Lisa and Ellen on Sunday. Ethan asked if David was staying. I said we were working on it, but the kids would always be with me. He could call us what felt right. Ethan offered David cereal, a small step. Monday, the school reported Lisa's latest attempt to get information. She was arrested for violating the restraining order. My lawyer said her behavior strengthened our case. Damien texted, warning that Lisa claimed to have proof to destroy me. I couldn't sleep, wondering what proof she had. David and I reviewed everything. Had he said something incriminating? Was it a bluff? At the lawyer's office, the school called. Lily was sick, not serious. I picked her up. The secretary said Lisa claimed I was mishandling the kids' medications. A lie. I confirmed with the pediatrician that the kids weren't on meds. Brian logged the false report. David learned Lisa's proof was edited screenshots of their messages, making it look like an affair, plus bank records of his payments. Our lawyer wasn't worried. The full messages disproved her claims, but the public damage was done. Lisa's Facebook group with neighbors and coworkers spread her lies. People believed her. Hunter defended me at school, upset by rumors that David was their biological father. At Friday's hearing, our lawyer presented evidence of Lisa's harassment. The judge revoked her bail, ordered the Facebook group deleted, and expedited the termination of her parental rights. Lisa screamed that David promised to leave me for her. We moved to a new school district, and David took a local job. The night before the final hearing, Ethan asked to attend, wanting to speak.